Alphafly 3 versus the Asics Metaspeed Sky Plus. Which of these shoes is your next best race day shoe? Let's get into it. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're subscribed watching content. Thanks so much, love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of other updates and things like that. So without further ado, specs for both shoes up here. And I have the individual reviews of both of these shoes, so I don't want to waste too much time breaking down all the individual pieces unless it's just necessary for, I guess, the comparison here. So we'll just go right off the rip into main differences across both shoes, some of the similarities, and just in context which one seems to work better where, okay? So I guess we'll start off with the older of the two, which is technically the Metaspeed Sky. The specs of the shoe are interesting, right? We have this like 35 to 39 millimeter stack height for the shoe, giving it a 4 millimeter offset. Although those are the specs, the shoe seems to have what looks like a negative stack height when you run in it, okay? So the shoe itself, based on just the stack height alone, the offset of being 4 millimeters, favors a runner with a lot of experience that has stronger feet than usual, that is used to not like overpronation, not over supination, but somewhere right about where your arch has enough strength to keep a shoe like this in line with your objective, whether it's a marathon, half marathon, 10K, 5K, you name it, right? That being said, and I'll come back to this with the Alphafly 3, I've been of a strong opinion that this is a really, really good race day shoe if your running form is in the right place overall. And what I mean by that is kind of like what I said, right? Do you have strong arches on the feet? Are you used to running in a shoe that has a more natural sort of offset in terms of specs for the shoe? Are you used to a shoe that's going to feel like a negative stack height? Are you used to the carbon plate technology? What else can we kind of punch out with this thing? I guess those are some of the main questions you want to probably ask yourself. Again, now in terms of specs, the foam that's running across the shoe, the FF Turbo foam, the fast foam, whatever it is very simple. It is just that one slab of foam that goes across the shoe. It has the carbon plate that's kind of sandwiched in between it there, giving it that nice rocker feel and just that rebound that you would be expecting from this race day shoe. And overall, it's built very simple. Like, this thing will last you a long time, and I guess if we talk about shoe longevity, that's important to consider in this particular context when we get into it. And now I'm aware that the Metaspeed Sky Paris exists, and that's going to be a talk for another day because I don't have the Paris at this time. I am aware that that could be like one of the greatest race day shoes of all time, but let's not forget that the Metaspeed Sky and the Metaspeed Sky Plus were Asics, I guess, successor, well, not successors, they were the predecessing shoes into the race shoe market that were competing directly against Nike's Vaporfly, Alphafly, and then the Saucony Endorphin Speeds and all that, right? So as this shoe stands, this is just the simplicity of its specs, right? It's just one slab of foam, carbon plate, as natural of a feel as possible to maximize your output as a runner, with your feet, with your foot strength, with your leg strength, and just your form biomechanics being in the right spot in order to maximize the shoe's usage. Now, when we go into the Alphafly, I think a lot of you guys probably are aware of what's going on with this thing. Not going to go too deep into it. Again, we have the 40 millimeter heel, 32 millimeter forefoot, giving it an 8 millimeter offset, which is different than its predecessor in the Alphafly 1, whereas in the 2, it kind of began resembling some of these specs as they tried to resemble more of what the Vaporfly and the Vaporfly Next Percent 2 were sort of working with. Again, same deal. We have ZoomX running across the shoe, but it is in two slabs where there is a carbon plate sandwiched in the middle, and we have the Air Zoom pods in the mid forefoot area of the shoe to give you that extra rebound and kind of give you this springing effect while you're running in the shoe. And then in the upper, again, it's this like special heat-treated mesh that's supposed to be a little bit more flexible, not supposed to rip as much, and it's kind of signature to the Alphafly shoe in general. And now, in terms of your race day shoe, I would say between the two of these, right, The specs for this shoe are a lot more forgiving for the everyday runner if you wanted to make this your race day shoe, right? And I think that's where Nike's kind of smart about this, is they didn't create a shoe that's super niche to experienced runners or beginner runners. They built something that I think a lot of runners can enjoy, just kind of in the middle zone, because this is, let's be clear, this is not like the world's greatest race day shoe, but it is up there. And I'll say, just from personal experience running Chicago, I had a really good time with this shoe as a marathon race day shoe in comparison to the Metaspeed Sky Plus in a half marathon setting. And we'll get to that in a minute. But again, the build of this shoe allows for you as a runner to overall just have a good time. Even though it is extremely fast, it's comfortable for the most part. The springiness of the Air Zoom pods give you some extra bounce off the ground. It gives you a little bit of extra protection in that sense. There's a lot to love about this shoe, despite the fact that, again, it's not the world's fastest shoe, and because of some of the technologies involved with this shoe, you do run the risk of having a shorter lifespan with this compared to something like the Metaspeed Sky Plus. So that brings me into my personal experiences with both shoes, right? Where have I used them and why have I come to this conclusion right now? So, like I said, the Metaspeed Sky Plus, I used it in a half marathon over the summertime, and overall, the shoe was consistent. It was fast. I had a good time with it up until about the last maybe 2 miles of the half marathon, where I started developing blisters in my toe area of the shoe, and I also had a massive sort of soreness in, I think it was my right foot, in like the midfoot area of the shoe, whether it was just because the protection here was odd, maybe because I cut into the shoe like this, on my other foot. It resembles this one pretty much kind of identically, right? And what happened as a result is that just doing the half marathon made me think, okay, this shoe is probably not good for the half marathon. It's not good for me yet, but it is certainly there because the energy return of the shoe was consistent as long as I wasn't like sore, beaten up, or in bad shape during that half marathon, which I, for the most part, was like doing okay. I was gradually slowing down. I did have positive splits, and like then the blisters started occurring, and I was having a really bad time, and then that just kind of went south. But besides all that, the shoe has the potential to be extremely awesome, and I would like to think, this is just me predicting in the future, if I get the Metaspeed Sky Paris, it's probably going to take all the good things about this shoe, probably all the great things about the Alphafly minus, the Air Zoom pods, and put it into a shoe that will be simply amazing all the way across. That's just my prediction until I have my hands on the Metaspeed Sky Paris, right? So, as a half marathon shoe, it was good up until a point, and then I had some serious problems with it. That's where the Alphafly 3 kind of came in as a last-ditch effort to save my Chicago Marathon a month after this half marathon, right? And I did do a 2-hour run in this shoe just to kind of wrap up the training block for the Chicago Marathon. And it was extremely comfortable. Like, all the way across, it was extremely consistent. It was extremely comfortable. I wasn't super fast in it because my fitness just wasn't great. But what mattered to me was that I was comfortable and I could get through the workouts in one piece, right? Now, like I mentioned, the life of these shoes is going to be dependent on your Air Zoom pods and like whether you pop these things too early, if you rip the foam like I did here in the back, which by the way I've kind of glued. It's kind of hard to see here, but I got Gorilla Glue in the back. We'll see if this lasts for the rest of the race season and just kind of see how that goes. But during the marathon setting, like, the only real issues I had was, like, maybe, again, one toe in my toe box that is, like, kind of beaten up still just because the marathon and toes, it's not great, right? Like, you'll just kind of develop those blisters. You'll kind of crack some toenails. Maybe you'll warp them in a weird way, and that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now in the toe box area. But other than that, like, striking and continuing the pace that my body allowed me to push during the marathon was consistent. Like, the shoe followed me wherever I wanted to go. It wasn't like a setback or anything holding me back during the Chicago Marathon. So you guys probably know where I'm gonna keep these rated, right? So between these two, at this time, I'm leaning towards the Alphafly 3 just being a better shoe, just because I had a better experience in a marathon setting than I did with this shoe in a half marathon setting overall. And plus, my form isn't quite up to where I want it to be in terms of having good, foot landing, having a good turnover, having a quicker, steps per minute sort of cadence, I guess we should say. So the Alphafly is a lot more forgiving for those running mistakes than something like the Metaspeed Sky Plus that would prefer you have at least 90 to 95% perfected your running form and have this consistent effort come out of a shoe that would expect more out of your natural abilities than something that is sort of artificially generated from, assuming that you have like overpronation and the shoe will naturally kind of supinate you. You have the air zoom pods which give that extra rebound with the carbon plate. Like there's features to this shoe that will help you and assist you rather than, dare I say, punish you if you have form issues that still need corrections. So I think I'll leave it at this. I want to keep this video short and sweet just because there isn't really too much I want to get into in terms of deep dives or anything like that. So if you agree or disagree with the assessment, let me know in the comments below. If you own both these pairs, tell me which one you like better, and I think we'll leave it at that. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.